Welcome to the podcast Living by Oak Values. My name is Robert, and I host this podcast with my friend Gary. Join us today as we dive deep and share meaningful stories and discuss the values that help shape our lives. We are devoted to living by these values and sharing them with you, whether you're a longtime listener or just now discovering us. Welcome. Check us out at northmancoaching.com. Connect with us and get your free toolbox along with exciting updates. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Happy listening.
And today's value is generosity. Generosity is defined as the willingness to give or to share, an act of unselfish giving.
Yeah, today we're going to tell you about facts and stories about generosity. It is not only about giving to others what they lack, but also about cultivating a spirit of abundance with oneself. But first, let's get on to the meat of why generosity is an important value.
Generosity fosters connection and community. It promotes personal fulfillment, encourages empathy and understanding. It creates a positive ripple effect, builds resilience in society, and helps balance inequity, enhances leadership and influence. Generosity enriches both the giver and the receiver, promoting mutual respect, cooperation, and a deeper sense of connection in a personal relationship and society at large.
And a quote that represents this would be by Winston Churchill. We make a living what we get, but we make a life but what we give.
And this episode is brought to you by Northman Coaching and their Oak Value cards. Are you looking for a little boost of motivation and self-improvement? If so, then check out our Oak Value cards and empower yourself with our motivational and insightful core value cards. Enter promo code PODCAST for 10% off of your order. Hey, Rob.
Yay!
Why did the generous man bring a ladder into the bar?
Change the light bulb?
He probably could change light bulbs, but it was because he wanted to help everyone reach their potential.
Awesome. Speaking of generosity, Gary, share with us that famous story about the time you showed generosity.
The time when I was in the Navy.
Yes.
So I was in the Navy and I found myself at a bar in St. Thomas. I was soaking up the tropical atmosphere when a guy approached me and he asked if I could spare some change. And instead of handing over cash, I felt I could do something a bit more personal. So I invited him to join me for lunch and I bought him a burger and some fries. And it was nice. It was just a simple gesture and wasn't looking for anything in return. I just wanted to feed the man instead of giving him money.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. We were talking about the different facts about generosity, and one that it doesn't really require wealth. Generosity isn't about money. It could be time, attention, kindness, skills. It can be in all forms of generosity.
Absolutely can. It also creates a ripple effect. Acts of generosity can inspire others to give and creating a positive chain reaction.
Speaking about that, I was at a toy store with my daughter, and you know how they do the buy something and then you turn around and buy the next gift and buy the next gift. The lady in front of us bought my daughter's gift.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't necessarily buy the person behind me a gift, but later on I did have that generosity mindset that I bought somebody else's gift in another department down the road.
It's kind of like when I go to Dunkin' Donuts or something, I'll buy my coffee and then I'll pay for the guy behind me or something.
Yeah.
Paying it forward.
Yes, thank you. Pay it forward. But it comes in many forms. Generosity can also be as simple as listening to someone in need, offering a helping hand, or sharing your resources with them.
And generosity is valued across religions and cultures as a virtue that enriches communities and improves social bonds.
So, Gary, how do you decide when to be generous with your time or money, resource?
If it's a friend, if it's you or a close family member, and they're asking for money, if I have it, I will give it. If it's someone on the street, I usually don't give them money because, and it could be a story in my head, but I don't because they could buy drugs with it or alcohol and they'll never get off the street that way. But if I could help them with, food or I don't know, something to help them get a job so they can get off the street, then I will.
My dad taught us to be generous with our time. And he would constantly do jobs, odds and ends for people. Um, and he wouldn't charge them anything. And he kind of taught us that same thing. It's like, hey, when somebody asks for your help, you don't really need to charge them for your help. So,
On that note, I was going to tell you that my job asked me to volunteer to get paid, but to work the day before Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving is my day off. So I'll take Wednesday off. And I'd usually work every single year that Wednesday. But this year I took it off because I realized that when I work on that Wednesday, I'm stressed out on Thursday, and my daughter just sees me stressed out. And I'm stressed trying to get everything put together for dinner. So why not be generous with my time and spend it with my daughter so I'm not stressed out?
well, actually, I know we didn't plan this, but the quote that we have lined up matches exactly with that.
No shit. Look at that. Wow.
The meaning of life is to find your gift, and the purpose of life is to give it away by Pablo Picasso. Isn't it beautiful how it's like you're giving the gift of your time to your daughter?
Yeah. On that note, another thing is that I've heard, I think it's a quote, I don't know if it's a quote or something I've heard before, but the only one that notices that you're working extra hours is you.
Mm.
Your family, they just know you're not there.
Yeah.
Your job, they will forget you the minute you die.
Yeah.
So the only person that knows that you're working extra hours or putting extra effort in is you.
Yeah.
So I was telling you earlier that when I was in the Navy, that I bought that guy lunch.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lot more of that story that really brings generosity together. So later that evening, me and my friends, we were wandering through the streets of St. Thomas, enjoying the island's nightlife, and we turned down a shadowy road, more like an alley. Probably not looking back on it, not the smartest move ever. But suddenly this group of locals appeared out of nowhere, and their intentions were pretty clear, and we were about to be in some pretty serious trouble. We were definitely outnumbered. We had no place to go, but we had each other's back. That's how we are in the military. We're there for each other. So we were ready to do what we had to do. And just as it got real, this little guy stepped out of the back of the crowd, and he was very calm, and he took control, and he said, "Leave these guys alone." That man bought me lunch. His friends seemed to hesitate a little bit, but then they backed down. And it was at that moment that I realized I could have given him cash, could have bought him a burger, or I could have said nothing and given him nothing. But I did buy him food. And I think that is why we were spared that night. If I'd given him cash, they probably would have taken us for the rest of our cash. But because I had that gesture, he was clearly hungry, and I fed him. We lived to tell another. We lived to tell another story. It was it was pretty intense.
Holy cow, that's a pretty cool story.
Yep. So never underestimate your generosity, because it could. I believe it will always come back, but it came back that night tenfold.
Well, has there ever been a time where you regretted being generous?
Yes. Do you want me to tell you about that time?
Yeah, go ahead.
With coaching, probably. I've done free coaching for people. They just keep coming back for more and coming back for more. I think you've experienced that too, probably, have you not?
Yeah, actually, that's exactly what I was gonna say. It was like a lot of times it's giving your time, and they abuse it.
Yeah.
They abuse your time, or they abuse your friendship to a point where it's about them. It's not about the friendship that you built anymore. It's about them taking what they need.
It's not even about generosity. It's about them taking.
Yes. Yeah.
So there are some cons to generosity, and generosity is generally seen as a positive trait, but it does come with potential downsides, especially when boundaries aren't clearly defined. And I think what we were just talking about is our boundaries were mine were definitely not clearly defined. The downsides are, it can cause emotional and physical burnout.
Another one would be being taken advantage of. A lot of
Yeah,
people do that. So,
absolutely. And it's enabling dependency. You know, you keep giving out and giving and giving, they're going to want more and more.
with and I know somebody who does that, and it has caused financial strain. They're constantly giving money or something like that, and they just don't have the money to give anymore.
Huh. Also, emotional manipulation. You know, they can make you
Mm.
feel bad to give more time, more money, more whatever.
Yeah, and that causes resentment and disappointment because you resent the people for asking, and you're also disappointed in them. Yeah, I mean it's like a two-way street.
Yeah, but you have to tell them that you're well, not that you resent them, but you got to tell people that you're disappointed if you are, and if
Mhm.
you don't do that, then you'll have a loss of personal boundary.
It also seems to decrease your self-worth over time. If your generosity is tied into your self-worth, you may start to feel valuable only when you're giving. And this can create a cycle where your self-esteem relies solely on what you do for others rather than who you are.
Do you know anyone like that or no?
Yeah, I knew a few people like that. My dad was like that. Um, and I also know that it's also part of cultures that is about giving, and
Hmm.
they expect people to give.
'Cause, on that note, I feel like I have a high sense of worth when I am helping others. You know, if I'm coaching them, but I still, even when I'm not coaching, I still have a very high sense of self worth. So it's not like I don't only feel worthy when I'm helping.
But if that defines who you are, then it does.
Right.
Like, hey, I'm Robert. If you come to me, I'll help you out. That starts to become who I am. I'm Robert the fixer.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
And I actually at work, I am Robert the fixer. And that's something that I had to learn, that my self-worth isn't based on me helping other people out. So yeah, my identity for a long time was tied to helping people out.
I get it actually now. You know what? I think that has to do with the boundaries because when I was married, I was Gary the fixer or Gary the try
Hmm.
to fix the guy. Like I
Yeah.
was, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with us? Can I fix it? What can I do better? What can I do different? And then when I did the dishes or cleaned the house, I was like, yes, I have self worth, but it was never good enough.
Yeah.
So,
And a beautiful quote that goes along with this is by Harold Kushner. Do things for people not because of who you are or what they do in return, but because of who you are.
that is beautiful. That's really how it should be. You should
Yeah.
give or be generous because of who you are, not because you need something from me or the other guy needs something, but I am the guy that I have extra or abundance of this and I'm going to give some to help.
Yeah.
Anyways, being generous is wonderful when balanced with self respect and clear boundaries. Knowing when and how much to give allows for generosity that's sustainable and fulfilling, both for you and those that you are helping. Generosity and providing both involve giving, but they differ in intention and scope. Generosity refers to the willingness to give more than what is necessary or expected. Often driven by kindness or a desire to help others, it can manifest in various forms such as time, resources, or support, and is typically characterized by a sense of selflessness. Providing, on the other hand, generally implies supplying what is necessary or required. It can be more transactional and is often focused on fulfilling specific needs or obligations. While providing can be done with a generous spirit, it doesn't inherently carry the same warmth or altruism as generosity. In summary, generosity emphasizes the spirit of giving, while providing focuses on meeting needs.
If you would like to go further or deeper on this topic of generosity, reach out to us. We want to know you and hear your powerful story. Chat or connect with us by booking your free session on our website, northmancoaching.com. And folks, that's a wrap on today's episode. And of course, thank you all out there for listening. We're so glad you could join us today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, Living by Oak Values. And if you feel generous, leave us a review. It really helps us out and keeps these conversations going. For more updates and exclusive content, join our Facebook group, Northman Legacy Crew. Follow us on TikTok, YouTube, and we'll be back next week with another exciting episode that you don't want to miss. Until then, keep discussing your values, embracing the journey, take care, and stay authentic.